Daredevil was a series that ran from 2015 to 2018 on Netflix and was extremely successful, but was prematurely cancelled on the streaming service, leading to many outraged fans. 7 years later, Disney Plus has released a revived TV series of the same continuity with Daredevil Born Again. Its first season has recently concluded on the streaming service, so without further ado, let's look at all 4 of those seasons and rank them from worst to best.
We built this city on rock and roll. Built this city.
Now, in last place, we actually do have Daredevil Born Again Season 1. That is not to say it is a bad show by any means. I'm very pleased with the result we got in the end, but given the nature of this series and where it has to pick up, it was never just going to jump back into it immediately and hit the same heights. You know, there was a big time jump, they need to establish new plot lines, everything like that, so it needs to kind of build up to that again, so it's naturally a bit slower in some areas, but that's not to say it's bad. I think in terms of morals and themes, it was an effortless transition. We got those back again. We did have a few new characters, and the main characters that we had before weren't recurring characters in this season, so it did feel drastically different, but at the same time, the core elements felt like a natural continuation. There's a lot of skepticism about this show being on Disney Plus and fully under Marvel's banner. Many thought it would reduce the amount of mature themes, whether that's, you know, language or the action itself, but I'm safe to say that it's all still here. As the title suggests, Matt Murdock has to be reborn in this Daredevil persona, and very interesting seeing the conflicting morals of wanting to do the right thing but knowing sometimes you have to play a bit dirty to get the right outcome. And that's highlighted with Matt himself, and also Wilson Fisk, Vincent D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox just provide fantastic performances just like they did in the previous series. So yeah, very satisfied with this as a beginning season for this new series, but there are a lot of things it can build up towards, and I think this season left off in a perfect place for future seasons to be a great success. Next up, we have Daredevil Season 2, yet another brilliant season, and if you can't tell, that goes for all of these seasons. They're all fantastic. Where I did have this season below the other two is the absence of Wilson Fisk is missed. Not to say that it drastically falls off, but when you take away such a strong presence, naturally there's a big hole to fill, and the Punisher and Elektra do take up a lot of that vacant space, and given their previous adaptations, I think they're just brilliant here, especially John Bernthal as the Punisher. It just didn't fill that void entirely. They're trying to bring in the next set of villains and anti-heroes. It can get quite convoluted. The same morals and drama, great writing is still there, but just it can be a little bit too much sometimes, and understandably so given that Kingpin was such a great presence in the first season. But look, I'm really having to nitpick here just to differentiate these seasons because they're all very strong. So here we're still treated to all the brilliant aspects that we have had in the other seasons. Just these are the differences which separate them, in my opinion.
She acts like summer and walks like rain. Reminds me that there's a time to change. Hey, hey, hey.
Next up, we do have the first season of Daredevil, the one that kick-started it all, and it just exceeded everybody's expectations. Marvel or superhero shows in general haven't had the best track record on TV, and when you take a character who is somewhat based in the MCU at this point in time and chuck him into a TV show, at that point in time it didn't feel like the most encouraging thing. You know, we have had some success with Agent Carter, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but there have also been some diabolical series as well. Inhumans. But yeah, so expectations weren't too high, but once this series came out, they were just everyone was blown away. Such a grounded feel to it all, very honed in on the political side of things and the corruption, which just was intriguing. And once you add in the dynamic of Matt Murdock, this blind lawyer who has these ultra senses and fights crime, lives this double life, it works very well, and all the supporting characters' writing just helps it merge into something brilliant. They didn't rush the origin of this superhero, you know, it took the entire season to build up to Daredevil, given that the final episode of the season is called Daredevil. The slow and patient build up to establish this character really paid off. When you had Vincent D'Onofrio opposite him as Wilson Fisk, who is such an intimidating influence, yet shows vulnerabilities, especially when his backstory is explored. It just makes him feel more realistic and not relatable, but just real in general. So yeah, very, very strong establishing season. Couldn't have asked for a better one, but hence the rating, it's not in first place. But that does lead us to season 3, the best of the bunch in my opinion, and the season which ultimately led to this cancellation, not because of its quality, for other reasons, but this was the ending that many of us were left with for years, and in a way you can say ending it on a high, but it just left everyone wanting more because it was that brilliant. Wilson Fisk does return this season, and despite being in pretty much the same location for the entire season, it just shows how much of a presence he is, and just him working opposite Matt Murdock as well, just top notch. I haven't included it in this ranking, but this season follows on from the ending of the Defenders miniseries, and that has left Matt in a difficult situation where he must recover and build up his strength once again. And ultimately that can make this season not the strongest for many because it takes a slow approach at the start. I think it pays off throughout the rest of the season as you're just treated to top-notch episode after episode. It also shows that Matt is a flawed individual, you know, he can't juggle everything, so he ditches the Matt Murdock side and focuses on the Daredevil life. It just develops some fascinating dynamics with all the characters, especially his friends Foggy and Karen. Where he has distanced himself from them, it gives them more independency and development individually away from Matt, and they are huge factors in this season and ultimately the final product of it. Season 3 gets so tied up in the corruption and the politics that it's easy to forget that this is a superhero film and exists in a universe where you have people flying around with capes, because it's so engaging yet so grounded, and honestly the intricate writing for the entire season is just superb. Season 3 does not only continue the high quality of this series, but it also elevates it and provides what I'm going to say is the best season of television from the superhero genre. From what I've seen, this is just a superb season of television and wrapped up what was originally an exceptional series. So that was my ranking of all 4 seasons of Daredevil. Please let me know what your ranking is down below. I'm sure there can be a few tweaks to this, and yeah, let me know what you thought of Daredevil Born Again as well. I've seen some mixed opinions online as of late, but I think overall everyone is very happy with it. Other than a few mentions here and there and a few little threads linking it to the outer MCU, I like that Daredevil Born Again was more or less on its own. Other than like Miss Marvel's dad and the Swordsman, you didn't have any characters coming in from the wider MCU to give you that fan service. It was solely focusing on this brilliant writing and the series that came before, and I'm glad that they're seemingly setting up the Defenders to return in the 2nd season, because they were part of their own little bubble in the universe over on Netflix, and it's good to see that they'll probably be getting the same treatment that this series got. But yeah, that was my ranking. I hope you did enjoy. Sorry it's been a little while since my last upload, but I just didn't have anything to upload in that time, plus I was quite busy. But yeah, hopefully now things are starting to come out, we can get a little consistent upload schedule out. So yeah, thank you once again, and I hope to see you in my next video.